calmly bring these matters to me and leave them in my capable hands. Then simply do the next thing. Stay in touch with me through thankful, trusting prayer, resting in my sovereign control. Rejoice in me. Exalt in the word of God of your salvation. As you trust in me, I will make your feet like the feet of a deer. I enable you to walk and make progress upon high places of trouble, suffering, or responsibility. That is in Job 13, verse 15, Psalms 18 to 33.
Thank you.
Thank you for that beautiful word of encouragement.
Yeah, I call it activating our spirit out here, you know, and it's very well, you're very well aware of what's going on with the prayer. So until then, you know, we thank you for all that you do for our show, you know, and bringing the word of God to the show. So we thank you. Have a blessed day, because we got to get the show on the road.
I will, and you guys thank you as well.
All right, thank you. Stay blessed.
Good morning. Good morning. Don't we have an exciting show today? We got a special guest, former 15th Judicial District Court Judge Jules Edwards, and he's a candidate for Lafayette City Court, Division
A.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, Judge Edwards.
Good morning. That prayer just reminds me of that passage that says, I can do all things with God who strengthens me.
Yes,
Amen.
sir.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've been knowing Judge Edwards for quite a long time now, you know, and I've always known him to be firm, fair, and very well experienced in the field that he's in. You know, and with that, I want him to give his platform on why you're running today, Judge. Good morning.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you very much. I appreciate you both letting me join you today. As you mentioned, I am a candidate for Division A of the Lafayette City Court. And it is that you asked me a burning question. And it has been phrased sort of like, why in the world would a state trial court judge want to become a city court judge? Mm-hmm. You know, normally state trial court judges have aspirations to become appellate court judges or Supreme Court justices. It is unusual for someone to make this move from one trial court to another trial court, particularly when the state trial court, the jurisdictional limits are higher. So in other words, in state court, you can sue and get a judgment for multiple millions of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas in city court, the maximum jurisdictional limit is $20,000. So it's the controversies or the amount in controversy is much lower. Mm-hmm. They both have handle the same kinds of cases, with the exception of divorces. You can only get a divorce in district court. You can't get a divorce in city court, right? But they both handle civil, criminal, juvenile, child in need of care, families in need of service, and of course traffic. However, another difference is in the criminal cases, in state court, you could receive a death sentence, or you could be sent to prison for dozens of years, 10s, 20s, 50s of the years, right? Long periods of time. And it's to state prison where you can be mandated to work. And you're in Louisiana, you're sentenced to hard labor, and which means you typically are working in a field, you know, like on an ancient day concentration camp, you know. But in city court, they only handle misdemeanors. They don't handle felony class cases. So the maximum penalty is 6 months in the parish jail or $500 fine. But to answer the question, that's to kind of the similarities of the two different courts and the differences. But the answer to your question directly is I was very successful during my 28 years of service on the state court, right? And particularly in criminal cases, I had an opportunity to work with people who had been convicted of felony offenses, major offenses, and get them off the road to perdition onto the road to success. So had great opportunity to work with folks and help them decide for themselves that they don't want to live that life anymore. They don't want to be that person anymore. They want to be a person who is reunited with their family, employed, starting businesses, getting education, and many of those folks did achieve those things. So that's very gratifying. However, it's also sort of painful in the sense that each of these folks have been convicted of one or more serious felonies, right? And that meant that most of them had been convicted of multiple misdemeanor offenses, right? And so I'm thinking that city court only handles misdemeanor offenses, not felony offenses. So if I can get those folks in city court who are just getting involved in criminal activity, the small stuff, if we can get them to change their ways before they get involved in the big stuff where they're really, really hurting people, then that will pay big dividends for our community, you know. And so it'll, you know, when a crime occurs, everybody's sense, when you see that in the news, your sense of safety is harmed. You feel disconnected, you feel isolated from the community. But to the extent that you're living in a peaceful place, then you feel a tight bond with people in your community, not just the person next to you, but even the people across town, right? And we have to remember, God commanded us to love your neighbor. That's not a suggestion, it's not a request, that's a command. But you need to understand that I understand that loving means wanting and working towards the best of the other, right? Now, loving is different than liking. I don't have to like you to love you, right? But and one of the works of mercy is to help people understand where they're going wrong and getting them on the right track. And so that's really the principal motivation, so that I can help make our community a safer community. And then of course, you know, in all of those other types of cases, I can bring that experience to bear to make sure that justice is firmly and fairly developed and provided in our city.
I know when you was a state judge, district judge, you had started a program for drug court.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And I thought that was a wonderful idea, you know, to help people that's early stages in going in drugs, and that would help them, you know, deter themselves from using the drugs or becoming involved in the drugs.
Yes.
You know?
I was fortunate to be able to handle, excuse me, all of the cases where people were accused of committing a drug offense in Lafayette Parish. For most of those 28 years, I was the judge who handled those cases, right? And so we would be able to deal with both the folks who acknowledge, yes, I have a substance abuse problem, yes, I have a mental health problem, and I want to get help, and the folks who are in denial. I don't have a problem. I could quit at any time, right? And so, with the program you mentioned, drug treatment court, that was for those folks who were prepared to acknowledge, yes, I have a substance abuse problem, yes, I have a mental health disorder, and I want to get treatment, and I want to receive treatment and change my life, right? And so those folks, they would get a clinical assessment to determine if that's correct, if there is a diagnosis, and they would get the appropriate treatment, and then they would come to court to see me on a regular and frequent basis. It would start out every week, and then as they get better, then it would decrease in frequency, so they come in maybe once a month. And then so when they're doing well, I'd find a way to encourage them. Attaboy, atta-girl, keep with the good work, you're doing good. And if they're messing up, we give them a small penalty to let them know that thing you just did was wrong. Change.
You know, this morning we talking to Judge Jude Edwards. You know, he's number 61 on the ballot, and I'm pretty sure y'all seen the sign behind early vote.
October 21st through November 1st is early voting season, and election day is November 8th on a Tuesday. And candidate 61 on the ballot. He has proven leadership. He has supported us in district court, and I believe he gonna do the same. We got strong feelings. He gonna do the same in city court, come in, implement program to keep us out the judicial system.
Yes. Yes.
Brother Wilder, can I ask you a question right off the bat?
Mm-hmm.
You've been on the bench 28 years, right?
That is correct.
What would make Mr. Jules Edward, Honorable Judge Jules Edward, want to jump into the city court ring?
Yes.
That's a good question. I hope.
That's exactly the question, and again, it is my desire to make this community a safer place.
Okay.
And I think we make it a safer place by reducing the amount of crime that occurs. And so I want to get those folks that are just beginning to be involved in criminal activity, low-level criminal activity, and get them to change their mind, change their behavior, the way they think, the way they feel, the way they perceive, the way they interact with other people, so that they will desist from further criminal activity. So if you have people who are not committing crime, that means they're not producing victims, and we don't want any more victims in Lafayette.
Start off small, yeah.
Yes.
So that is also great. The little hashtag, you got a little hashtag. I don't know if you can see
Yes,
it.
on here we have the a QR code. If you can put your camera on the QR code, you'll be able to get to the website. But the website is also Edwards for City Court. Edwards number 4 for citycourt.com.
And Judge, if anybody want yard signs or want T-shirts or anybody who want to support you, is there a way they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Go on that website, and you will be able to put in a request for how you want to support the campaign and what sort of assistance you need from the campaign to help you support the campaign. We also have a Facebook page with that same name.
You got a campaign headquarters?
My campaign headquarters is where I am. Yes, because most of the signs you see out there, I'm the one who put them out there.
Okay,
I'm busy every day.
You know,
People like to see you sweat in Louisiana, and I want to see them see that I am working. Yes,
right,
yes.
right. You know, I knew a guy, this was years ago, he ran a campaign out of his car, out of his pickup truck. You know, and he used to call himself the pickup train campaign guy.
Yes,
you know?
I'm taking his example.
Yeah, well, you know, you have an office, you know, because you not only was a judge, you was also an attorney.
Yes.
You know? So, you know, you always could be in touch with you. You know, if you don't have a card, if you don't know him personally, you can pick up the phone directory or call the phone directory and get his name and address where his office is located. You know, so you know, Judge, I've been knowing you for many years, and I always did say every time I went to somebody else's hearing in the 15th district court, every time I seen you, you always told me, if you need me for anything, let me know. I said, well, Judge, I'm not here for myself.
Right.
I'm here for somebody else,
Right,
you know?
right. Well, you know, I've noticed that the vast majority of people who go to the courthouse, whether they're a witness or whether they're a friend of somebody who is the plaintiff or the defendant, most people are anxious. Most people are a little scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very important that the judge let them know that everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is a safe place, and you know, sometimes when witnesses are testifying, you can see that they're a little anxious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the judge has to let them know everything's going to be okay. Calm down. Just tell us the story that you know. Tell us what you saw. Tell us what you heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we want to know. That's
Right,
all
right.
we want to know.
You know, so, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I wish you well on your endeavors here.
Brother Waters, another question. Does that jurisdiction handle a lot of civil cases?
Yes.
So civil and minor.
So in Lafayette City Court handles civil cases, and the amount, as long as the amount of the in dispute is $20,000 or less, right? So a small claims kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
You have a beef with the landlord, you have a beef with the man who fixed your muffler or whatever, that kind of thing, you know? And also, we handle cases where children are accused of being delinquents.
Right.
So juvenile delinquency cases. Child in need of care. So that's where somebody is accused of having either abused or neglected a child that's in their care.
And how about evictions?
They do evictions.
Okay.
Indeed, right.
Since that's a big thing in the community because of COVID-19 and all the backlash from that.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, for quite some time, there has been funds available to assist people when they have gotten behind on their rent. I'm understanding that those funds are winding down, but that has been a great help to avoid people from getting evicted. Yes.
Okay.
And Judge Edwards, we know you have served our community since before your bench days. We know you was active duty in the U.S. Army.
Well, you're right. I served 30 years in the military. So I enlisted as a private in the United States Marine Corps Reserves, and at some point I transferred to Louisiana Army National Guard, and I ended my service as a colonel. And my terminal assignment was state judge advocate, and in that capacity, I had supervision over all of the military judges, the military lawyers, the court reporters, and paralegals in the Louisiana Army and Air National Guard. It's been quite a pleasure.
Good question. Marine or Army? I'm not going to do that.
The saying is, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I served as an infantryman in the Marine Corps, and I was in the artillery in the Army, and I served as the Inspector General for a while, and I was a judge advocate, a military lawyer, and then ultimately I supervised all those lawyers. Yes.
Well, I'll put it to you like this here. I'm not going to give you one or two. I'm going to give you all of them. Once in the service, always in the service.
Yes.
So, well qualified candidate, great experience, firm, he's fair, and he can get the job done.
I'm also fairly confident that there's no other candidate in this race who has the education that I have. In addition, we're all lawyers, right? You have to be a lawyer to aspire to be a judge. I'm the only one who has been a judge. But in addition to that, I have a master's degree in public administration from LSU, and a master's degree in strategic studies from the United States Army War College. The other candidates don't have those educational credentials.
I like that. I did a stint at LSU.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a Tiger fan, always. Can I get your law degree?
Yes, I went to lawyer. I went to De La Salle High School in New Orleans. High school is very important. I went to De La Salle High School, Loyola for undergrad, and Loyola for law school.
De La Salle. Okay.
So, Judge Edwards, so what changes you see you can bring about and implement in city court that would affect the impact of the number of cases going back, criminals going back, and the number of people getting convicted and keep going? What program you can implement to change it?
Okay, well, I'll broaden and talk about even civil cases. You know, I often early in a civil case, I will have conversations with the parties and let them know, you know, no one knows more about your dispute than the two of you, the plaintiff and the defendant, right? And you may have hired lawyers, right? But lawyers advocate for the party's rights. But if you will focus on your interests, what are you really trying to achieve in this civil dispute, you can work out it yourself in a way that will be much fairer than any decision any judge or any jury can impose on you, right? So if you focus on your interests, you might find a way to settle this and in a way that you determine is fair. And if you determine it's fairer than anything anybody could impose on you. But on the other hand, if you continue with this litigation, this argument in court, you may end up with a decision that you don't understand, and the lawyers will have to try and explain it to you. I will have to try and explain it to you. But if you have come up with a decision that you think is fair, you're more likely to take the steps to make sure it's fully implemented. And in many instances, people will talk to the lawyers and say, "Can we take a break, Judge?" Right? And they go out in the hallway for 15, 20 minutes, come back. "Judge, we settled the case. We just want to read the settlement on the record so that we know exactly what needs to be done from now on."
Yes, sir.
So even in civil cases, I have been able to expedite the resolution of those cases, right? But I find that in civil cases, criminal cases, all cases, when people come to court, really they want to be heard, right?
Yeah.
They want the sense that the judge is very interested in their case, right? You know, I have to say that, you know, I kind of live like a hermit. I don't hunt, I don't fish, I don't golf. I have a whole lot of friends who like to do those things. I work, I study, I go to church, I go home, right? And all of that is trying to make me more proficient in being a judge, right? And so I try and make sure that the people in court know that I'm there for them. I'm not trying to rush out to go to a football game or to go fishing or play golf. I'm going to be here as long as it takes to resolve this dispute, right? And in terms of criminal cases, I find that a significant number of folks involved in crime are also involved in drugs, right? It's upward, it's as high as 80% of people who are involved in crime are also involved in drugs, right? And so I had developed this process of doing a screening with everybody who has been convicted and they're about to be sentenced, so that I can get information about people. It's very important that when you craft a sentence, the sentence is narrowly tailored to that person and that type of crime, right? And so we want to identify the risk level that the person presents, and if they are in need of getting in front of a licensed counselor to see if they can do an assessment to determine if they can be diagnosed with a mental health disorder or a substance abuse disorder. And then you have to treat them accordingly, right? And you want to make sure that you don't mix the population. You will remember when you were being raised, you know, Mama would say, you need to hang out with the good kids, stay away from the bad kids, right? Because the reality is, the bad kids can make the good kids worse. The good kids can make the bad kids better, right? And so when you are giving folks some things to do as a part of their sentence so that they can get better, you want to make sure you don't mix those populations, right? Because you want to make sure that you get what I like to call a Goldilocks sentence.
Right.
Not too harsh, not too lenient, just right. Okay? Then once you've crafted that sentence that's designed for them to learn to change their values, their attitudes, their beliefs, their behaviors, then you have to monitor them, right? You have to follow them. You have to make sure that they're doing the work that's necessary to change their thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and then catch them doing something good and praise them for that good. You'd be amazed the changes that can occur when you set high expectations and you let people know that I am invested in your success. I want you to succeed, right? Then they want to live up to those high expectations that you set so that they can be affirmed, be praised by a person in authority. People crave that belonging, that sense of just the judge recognizes my dignity, right? The judge is honoring me as a child of God. Right?
In your jurisdiction, does your court jurisdiction handles domestic disputes? For instance, neighbor to neighbor having a beef with each other?
Oh yes, that happens in city court and neighbor to neighbor, but even also domestic violence. Domestic violence. DWI cases. That happens in city court as well.
Okay.
Right? And so it's very important to get people to the point where they are sort of horrified that if there's a criminal case, a traffic, I'm horrified to recognize that I'm the person who did that wrong thing.
Yes,
I don't want to be that kind of person anymore, right? I need to change so that I can be a person that's contributing to my family, to my community, and live up to the person that my mother wanted me to be when she was raising me. Yes.
Number 61, Judge Judy Edwards.
If you want to call in, you got questions, comments, concerns, or if you want to know about the campaign, you can contact us at 337-347-7236. Again, 337-347-7236.
All right. But
I'd like to remind people, your mother wants to be proud of you, right?
Yeah.
Your mother wants to be proud of you.
yeah,
You're breaking your mother's heart. Keep doing this stuff. Change your life, right? And encourage them. Then they live up to it. Yes, indeed.
And I also want to put this out there too. Once elected, Judge Edwards would be the first African American elected to the city court.
good judge.
I hear that and I recognize that. Frankly, though, I'm looking forward to the time when we don't no longer have these firsts.
Correct.
So that the people are treated based on their talent, their expertise, and we have wide diversity of people in leadership positions. That's the day that we are working towards, and as Abraham Lincoln said, we want to work towards a more perfect union.
Yes, sir.
I have another question, keep in mind. Interesting, very interesting for the director to be jumping in like that. Your court case is your court and the seat of all the judges, and how many judges are in there, and do you guys have a board that decides things, and there's a chief judge and so forth?
Yes. So, to answer your question directly, in Lafayette City Court, there's 2 judges.
Okay.
In the 15th Judicial District Court, there were 15 judges. While on the 15th Judicial District Court, I served as chief judge. There is a district court association, Louisiana District Association of District Court Judges, and I was the president of that association. So I was leading all of the state trial court judges throughout the state. I have also served as the chairman of the Judiciary Commission. So that's the organization that receives complaints that a judge has behaved unethically, and then we do an investigation, and if it is warranted, a trial is presented to the Louisiana Supreme Court to determine if discipline is required. So I've held a lot of leadership positions. However, as I mentioned, in city court, there's only 2 judges, and so I think it would be very easy for the two judges to get along together and work cooperatively together.
And the reason I ask that, because is there any kind of administrative team set up to run the court, or
Yes.
is it clerical court, or is you guys?
So all elected judges are responsible for the way the court performs, right? And typically it will elect a chief judge to be the voice of the court to the community, right? But the chief judge has no independent authority over the other judges, where they have equal authority. And they typically, the judges will typically have a chief administrative officer that supervises all of the employees, right? So the judges set the policy for how the court is going to perform, and there's a chief executive officer, administrative officer, who then makes sure that all the employees follow the policies that the judges have established.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh yeah.
It's more to a city court than meet the eye.
Thus the importance of that public administration.
To have somebody competent to run that.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, well, Judge, I don't have any more questions for you. I don't know if anybody else, if someone want to call in and ask questions to you, commend you for being the judge that you was, be the judge that you can be and will be in the city court.
And I know watching the Marshall show, Holding Accountable, there's a lot of people out there who have bench warrants for not going back to court. So, Judge Edwards, what you think can be done to make people feel confident about going back to court? Because a lot of people you come in contact with don't go back because they either don't have the money to pay the fine, and they scared of jail time. So
don't do a crime.
What you think can be done?
So that's you've hit on a very, very important question, and it's really a big problem because you know, you've seen the movie The Fugitive.
Yeah.
Well, so the guy is actively running from the law. He doesn't want to get caught. Most of the people who have warrants for not coming to court, they're not that guy, right? The majority of them have they're at home or they're at work. Somehow they just forgot about it. They didn't pay attention to it. You know, when you get a subpoena for say come to jury duty, you probably take that, put that on the refrigerator, write it in your calendar. You know, make sure you can do it. A lot of people just don't do that. They're not that organized, right? And so there would be times when I would conduct court, and court would start at 9:30, and we'd finish with everything 4:30, 5 o'clock, or maybe let's say it's finish early, finish around 3 o'clock. Then by 3:30, the phone is ringing, and they're asking, "Can you recall the warrant?" Now, you know, it's been 15 minutes since I left the courtroom, 30 minutes since I left the courtroom. Somehow or another, they have learned that a warrant has gone out for them, and they want the warrant recalled. Typically, as people in the courtroom, let me call Johnny. There's a warrant for his arrest, right? So there's a couple of things that we can do to proactively prevent that. Nowadays, if you get an appointment with the doctor, you're going to get text messages, you're going to get emails reminding you that the appointment is coming. So I think that's kind of an easy fix. We can do that, right? But I also want to take this time to dispel the notion that you can be sent. Let me just say this quickly. It is unconstitutional to punish somebody for being poor. Right? So if you cannot afford to pay a fine, a court cost, whatever that is, it is unconstitutional for the judge to send you to jail for that, right? So the person should not be afraid that that's going to happen, right? Now, on the other hand, the judge can say, well, if you're not employed, right, and you can't afford to pay the fine, well, how about doing some community service, right? If you're unemployed, you got some time, you can do community service and knock out the obligation. But then on the other hand, if you refuse to do the community service, now we need to have a hearing to determine whether or not you're guilty of contempt of court, right? Because the question is, could you have done the community service, and did you choose not to do the community service, right? That kind of thing.
Two questions. Again, you see, I got. It's interesting. It's interesting. You need to know these things about city court. Do you guys deal with the bail system, and or is your office technically over or work in conjunction with the marshal's office?
Okay. Now the marshal is a completely separately elected official, right? And
so as far as dealings
work closely together. Absolutely work closely together, right? So if you want to think of it this way, so the marshal is an executive official, right? The judge is a judicial official. The judge exists to resolve disputes, right? The marshal exists to make sure that the court orders are followed, right? And so that's why a lot of what the marshal does is go out and arrest people who who didn't come to court, right? But they also serve notices to come to court, right? So the marshal will be the person to tell you your court date is next Monday at 3 o'clock, right? And they'll serve the judgments on you, right? And so the marshals and the judges work very closely together.
Okay. And the bail system, y'all
Bail,
deal with
yes.
it.
So judges set the amount of bail, okay? So the purpose of bail is to assure that there is some amount at stake that will motivate the person to come to court when they're required to come to court, right? And so when the bail is that amount, and a bond is you're promising to pay that bail amount if you don't come to court, right? And so there are what they call commercial sureties. That's when you go to a bondsman, and the bondsman promises to pay if you don't come to court. And then there's personal surety. That's when I'm the one who makes the promise to pay the bail amount if I don't come to court, right? But and also, just like the fines, you're not the Constitution does not allow a judge to set an excessively high bail, right? So the judge is just supposed to set the bail at an amount that will encourage the person to come to court, and that requires the judge, to take into account the crime and the person accused of the crime. But that also gets me to another thing that judges do. Judges have to be on call 24/7, right? Because at any time, a law enforcement officer could come to the judge with an application for an arrest warrant or a search warrant. And the judge has to review the affidavit where the officer swears these are the facts and determine if there's probable cause to believe that that person committed that crime. And then the judge can issue the arrest warrant and can set the bail amount on that arrest warrant, so that when he's arrested, he can post bail right then and there and get out. And then a search warrant is where the judge reviews the affidavit to determine if there's probable cause to believe that evidence of a crime exists at a particular place, and thus the officer is authorized to go to that place and search to obtain that evidence. And that can come 9 to 5 while the judge is on the bench, or it can come at 2 o'clock in the morning when the judge is in the bed.
That's a rough one, come at you at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, disturb you out your sleep. But
that's a part of the job. That's what we call service. That's what we call service.
So I'll give you a little time, to break it down, to make you please, get on your knees.
Take the time to see what you want. How you feel. If you want to talk about the kingpin, fine. If you want to talk about what you're going to do once you sit in the seat, fine.
Yes, indeed.
Time to say whatever you want to say.
Yes, indeed. So again, there are, I will tell you, there are a couple of questions that I've heard while knocking on doors, right? And the first question I've already answered, but I'll answer it again, and is, why in the world would a judge who has been on the state trial court for 28 years want to go to city court? Many people kind of think of that as kind of going down, right? But again, I don't think of that way at all, right? It's a trial court, it's a trial court, and I have an opportunity at city court to help turn people around before they've caused major harm to themselves or major harm to each other, right? And so if I can get people off of that road to perdition onto the road to success, then I will have dramatically improved the quality of life in Lafayette. I just think that's so very important, and it's not like I'm going to be experimenting or trying to learn how to do this. I have 28 years of being successful at this. You'd be surprised. When I'm out and about in town, even before the campaign, I regularly run into people at Walmart or whatever and say, "Hey, aren't you Judge Edmonds?" Yes, I am. You sent me to prison, right? And I thought, okay, well, how'd that work out for you? And inevitably, it would be, man, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. You know, I was really doing stupid stuff, and I was able to, you know, have some time to think about what I was doing, whether it was taking me in the direction that I wanted to go or the wrong direction, and I clearly determined that that's not what my mama wanted me to do. That's not what God wants me to do, and I need to change my life. And invariably they did. They would come back and they were reunited, and sometimes that would happen when people had sent to jail or prison for a short period of time, and then they come back and be on probation, right? I'd supervise them, and they get back with their children, they get back with their spouses, they reunite with their parents, they go to school, get education, get degrees, get jobs, get employment, and just turn the life all the way around. And again, like I said, that's very gratifying, and it was the result of the systematic approach that I brought to dealing with folks in those criminal cases. And so I'm confident. You know, judging is both an art and a science, right? And so there's a certain number of sociologists and criminal justice folks have studied what works and what does not work, and they publish papers. That's a lot of the stuff that I end up reading. So I know that there's evidence for that this particular process or procedure will produce the desired results. You know, you can have intent, but the question is, will it produce that impact, right? And I have knowledge to bring to bear to achieve the results that I'm trying to achieve and have achieved in the past. And I'm confident I can do that in city court. And also, so that's the question of why you want to do this, right? And also, I hear people asking the question about party affiliation. Because see, I am intentionally registered as no party, right? And so folks want to know, why are you not a Democrat? Why are you not a Republican? We don't understand. We don't know. And I say, well, what you need to understand is that a trial court judge is a very different kind of elected office than all other elected offices, you know. So you have executive officials like mayors, governors, presidents, and you have legislative officials like city council members, parish council members, people in the House of Representatives, senators, right? And those kinds of people in those kinds of positions, they tend to have a desire to achieve a certain kind of public policy, right? And they work towards those public policies. And those political parties serve as signals for what kind of policies that they want to enact and they want to enforce, right? And so that's very meaningful, why you would want to have a Republican mayor, a Democratic governor, a Republican legislator, right? That label communicates some information, right? But a trial court judge is not in the policy making business, right? The job of a trial court judge is to take the law as it is, whether the judge thinks it's a good law or bad law, take the law as it is and use that to resolve the dispute that's present in court, right? So that's what trial court judges do. Now, appellate court judges review the work that trial court judges have done, and then they may have to interpret the law in a way that may be a little different, maybe new, right? And so that could create a new version of the law, right? Or a Supreme Court justice can do that same sort of interpretation to create a new version of the law that all the trial court judges then have to follow. But trial court judges, you know, you look at what the law is that the legislature wrote, read the appellate decisions, read the Supreme Court decisions, how they interpreted it, and then that is the law that the trial court judge applies to the dispute in front of them, okay? So that's kind of a long way of describing it. Let me give it to you the way my mother-in-law says, okay? So my mother-in-law would say, I'm not for the buyer, I'm not for the seller, I'm for what's right, okay?
So you do get time to time some litmus questions to try to gauge where you're at. You know, for instance, somebody might say, I'm gonna just throw this out here. I'm not asking you this. Judge, yeah, well, how do you feel about Roe versus Wade? So just to, you know, people do question you like that,
right.
Somewhat.
And the reason why that question is an important question for a legislator is you want to know whether that legislator is going to be trying to make pro-abortion laws or pro-life laws. That's why you ask that question, right? And a Supreme Court justice, is the Supreme Court justice going to be interpreting the law that's pro-life or pro-abortion, right? But a trial court judge doesn't have the opportunity to make that kind of decision, right? And so I intentionally registered as no party so that I can communicate to folks the importance and the distinction of the type of job a trial court judge is, right? And I will just tell you this, after 28 years, no one has been able to explain to me the Republican way or the Democratic way to resolve a traffic offense. Right? I'm just saying that question has no place in the business of what trial court judges do. And so that I'm intentionally communicating that information.
I know I missed something. Is such a thing as traffic court?
Yes. Well. So within the city court, within the trial court, there are various dockets. So there will be a trial docket, which means that on a particular day, the court will handle nothing but traffic cases. So I'm gonna make it up. So Monday they handle traffic cases. Tuesday you handle juvenile delinquency cases. Wednesday you handle civil cases, that kind of thing. But it's the same court. Right? So now in some places, like in New Orleans, there is a traffic court where that's all they do every day of the week is traffic. They never do domestic cases. They never do criminal cases, right? So in other places, the court has a name like New Orleans has a criminal court. New Orleans has a civil court, right? Whereas here at the 15th Judicial District, they handle civil and criminal, right?
Remember number 61 on your ballot.
And as we wind down, early voting October 25th to November 1st, and election day is Tuesday, November 8th of this year. Elect Judge Jules Edwards, 28 years of experience as a trial court judge, but altogether 50 years of experience in community service. He's firm, he's fair, and he's the best qualified candidate.
Yeah, he's very well experienced. But Judge, look, we appreciate you coming in and giving us all the information on your candidacy. But I have to run a public service for Marshall Reginald Thomas. He'll be giving book sacks away. This is second annual back to school giving school supply away, and he's going to be on Patterson Street at Destiny of Faith from 9 until they run out. You know,
this coming Saturday.
Yeah,
this coming Saturday morning.
Yeah.
At Destiny of Faith on Patterson Street.
Indeed, it's time to get ready for school, and so if you have school-age children, you want to take advantage of that. Yes, indeed.
Well, everybody is giving school supply away right now. I remember Ms. Janelle and KJCB started giving school supply, and now everybody done pick it up. They want to pack the bus and everything else right now. So, you know, it's all good because these kids need to get in school to get an education, not just go to school, get an education. And I think education is the best way to be, and the way people now are really, you don't have to go to school no more without a tablet or without a pencil where you gotta wait for the teacher to give you a scratch pad and some pencils, you know. So
tell us again that time with the Marshall on Saturday?
From 9 until.
9 until Saturday, and where's the location? Destiny of Faith, Destiny of Faith, all right.
On Patterson Street, right across from Alice Boucher.
Yes, and
On
if
the
you,
corner of Martin Luther King and Patterson.
Patterson, yes, and if you missed that on Saturday, my understanding is Representative Pierre has a similar school supply drive on the downtown convention center on Sunday. It's 11 to 6.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Well, I'm glad, I didn't have the accurate information on Senator Pierre, Representative Pierre, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
We need to prepare our children so that they can live a great, fulfilling life and go in the right direction, so we don't have to see them in city court.
Remember, early vote, early vote, and it's at the Martin Luther King Center on Cora Street. We got plenty of parking now. It's no excuse like we used to have when it was downtown at 1010 Lafayette Street. We didn't have no parking. You had to do a whole lot of walking. We don't have that anymore. We want to thank Councilman Patrick Lewis for making that happen, and Charlene Malbrough for allowing that to be happening at the King Center.
The
Early
voters
vote.
registration
Yes,
official. Yeah.
You know?
And then there's you can early vote at the courthouse too.
yeah.
Not at the courthouse, across the street at the Red Star Voters.
Yeah, the municipal building.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
voter
Yeah, you
registration.
can early vote there too.
Mhm.
You know, and we want to thank you guys for allowing us to come into your ears, into your eyes, and into your home.
I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you,
Yes,
Judge.
indeed.
Thank you,
Indeed.
Judge, for everything that you have done and everything that you will do in the future.
The views and opinions expressed today does not reflect the views and opinions of Acadiana Open Channel, Cox Communication, LUS Fiber, or Lafayette Consolidated Government. Good afternoon.
No, good morning.
Good morning.
It's still morning
Okay.
time.
Still morning. Good morning.
Have a blessed day.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We gotta go.
Mhm.
All right.
Till next Friday.
Yeah, we are.
We done.
Look like Judge
Thank you, gentlemen.
Evans took all our words.
Yeah, well.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. We will try to get it back on closer to
Mhm.
the election time.
My phone was blowing up, so we must have been doing something.
Oh, yeah. That's good. You know,
Mhm.
so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
sir.
you know, before you got here, I said, I sure hope we don't have to shake hands with the ghost.
Ah. I thought I sent you a text when I was en route.